Well, hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today I'm talking about fasting supplements. So there's a lot of questions people have when it comes to fasting. If you take supplements, will it break your fast? So I'm going to talk about the supplements that can actually help benefit your fast. And I'm also going to talk about supplements that offer little to no benefit and actually can reduce the benefits that you can get with fasting. And so one of the great benefits of fasting is this process of autophagy or cell cleansing. And so autophagy is this process of cell cleansing where basically we break down these older decaying organelles. It's like taking the trash, in a sense, out of the cell, and we use the raw materials in a recycling way, in a kind of way to recycle them. We use those raw materials to help form new healthy organelles and new healthy cells. And so it's really, really powerful. In fact, chronic disease is associated with an inability to successfully go through this autophagy process. And so the better our autophagy is, the lower our chance of developing chronic disease, in particular things like cancer and neurodegenerative conditions. It's also really powerful for helping reduce viral infected cells. So we know viruses are intracellular as opposed to like bacteria. They're out of the cell. Bacteria, might live in your gut and cause problems, or parasites would live in your gut and cause problems, but viruses live within the cell and they cause significant damage within your cell itself. And so this is powerful because our body, the natural way our body gets rid of viruses is through autophagy. So when we take supplements like antiviral supplements such as vitamin C, zinc, echinacea, astragalus, beta-glucan, right? These things are really good for helping our body with viral infections. However, they don't actually get rid of the virus. They help strengthen the immune system so the virus stays dormant, so it doesn't express itself and cause problems. But what actually gets rid of it is this process of autophagy. And the best stimulus for autophagy is fasting. Exercise helps with it. There's other things that help, but fasting is powerful stimulus for autophagy. And so we actually can start getting autophagy in a daily intermittent fast, and we start fasting 16 plus hours on a daily basis, starting to ramp up 24 hours, and then even more in day 2, day 3. If we're going on an extended fast, we start really ramping up autophagy in our body. And so supplements you would not want to take when fasting, that would be things with sugar, protein, or more than 20 calories in them. So like a tiny little bit of calories is not necessarily going to shut down autophagy if you're doing more of an extended fast. However, once that calorie hits a certain threshold, we're thinking about 20 or so, then it can stop autophagy. So look out for anything with sugar, protein, more than 20 calories in it. That can stop it. So for example, I'm a huge fan of bone broth fasting because it's great on the gut. You provide a lot of key nutrients, but you're going to get more than 20 calories. You're going to slow down. You're going to lower the autophagy process. Now, the good news is that there's something called the fasting mimicking diet, which I've written a great article on as well. And even in the fasting mimicking diet, it's a calorie reduced. It's roughly somewhere between 500 to 1100 calories on this fasting mimicking diet. And that is actually showing to have great benefits on autophagy. It's over a 5-day period. So if you go on a calorie restricted diet for 5 days, you will still get great benefits when it comes to autophagy. It doesn't necessarily have to be water only. But in general, these are things that can impact the autophagy process. Anything with sugar, protein, more than 20 calories. Of course, you really don't need digestive support supplements, so you wouldn't take enzymes, stomach acid, bile, things like that, fish oil, other omega-3 supplements. The general rule is this: anything that you would take with food, like if it's something you would take with a meal, like a multivitamin, minerals, these things are better absorbed when you're taking them with food. Fish oil, vitamin D, these things are all better absorbed when you're taking them with a meal. Those would be things you really don't need to take when you're fasting. Even things like curcumin, which is from turmeric, that's best absorbed when you're consuming food. So those are supplements that aren't necessarily beneficial when you are fasting. Now, supplements that you could take when fasting that should have little to no impact on your fasting, your autophagy process would be things like exogenous ketones, which can be really helpful, especially for somebody in the early phases of fasting when it's uncomfortable. I find these to be extremely helpful. Adaptogenic herbs can be really helpful because these herbs help balance our body, balance our rhythms, and bring us back to homeostasis. And that can be key. And we'll talk about why as we go through this presentation. B complex vitamins, these are water soluble, so you don't necessarily need food to digest them. Magnesium, vitamin C, electrolytes, a lot of these things can actually be very helpful when you're fasting. Molecular hydrogen, which is really powerful free radical scavenger in the body, can be really great when we're fasting. Proteolytic enzymes, which are basically enzymes that degrade protein. These things are great for breaking down scar tissue, helping your body to heal from injuries. So when you combine that with fasting and the benefit of fasting for improving stem cell development, along with the proteolytic enzymes, which can go in and really scavenge and break down scar tissue and old decaying matter and help improve injury recovery time, that can be powerful. And then biotoxin binders. So, binders that can help pull out mold and pesticides and herbicides and things like that, as well as certain bad microbes like yeast and bad bacteria and parasites. These sort of binders can be really helpful as well for detoxing the body. So major causes of symptoms when we're fasting. Typically, when you're experiencing symptoms, you're not feeling good when you're fasting, it's either one of these 5 things. Hypoglycemia, so your blood sugars drop too low, you're not keto adapted yet. You're dehydrated, you have low electrolyte levels, okay? And oftentimes hypoglycemia and dehydration, low electrolytes kind of work together, and they compound each other. When you're dehydrated and you have low electrolytes, your body goes into a stress mode and you have hypoglycemic reactions, and it's harder to be keto adapted. And on top of that, when you're hypoglycemic, oftentimes you've expended your electrolytes and your water. And when you drink and you take electrolytes, it really helps calm the hypoglycemic response. Gut-induced endotoxemia. So within our gut, we've got all these different microbes that make up our microbiome. And when we're fasting, it's almost like it's like mowing the lawn, right? It's like taking care of your yard. So we wouldn't say grass is bad, but grass that grows too long certainly doesn't, make our yard look appealing. In fact, a lot of, it can start to stink and look really bad. And, a lot of various life forms start to develop. And it's just, not a real healthy ecosystem necessarily, or at least not the ecosystem we want in our yard or in our backyard. So we mow our lawn, we trim, the hedges, we do different things like that to make our yard look good. It's really the same thing. And fasting is a great way to kind of trim down the microbiome, keep it more in balance. However, during the trimming process, especially if we have a lot of bad bacteria, bad microbes are going to excrete a lot more toxins than good microbes. And when good microbes die off, they excrete a lot less. And so if we've got a lot of bad stuff in our gut, then we're going to have a lot of toxic chemicals that are produced. And so this is endotoxemia because it's toxins produced within our body, like they're within us. It's not like, toxins that we're taking in from the environment. And then on top of that, we got fat cell induced endotoxemia. So as we're fasting, we're going to be using fat for fuel. So we're going to start breaking down fatty acids for energy. And within the fat, that's where we store toxins. And so toxins can get into circulation. We want to obviously bind those and get rid of them. And then, these sorts of toxins from our gut and from our fat cells will impact cells and create a strong amount of oxidative stress within the cell. And so we want to be able to buffer that and quench that as well. So let's look at hypoglycemia versus keto adapted. And so when you're hypoglycemic, you might have a low blood sugar, like under 80, and you feel bad. Oftentimes you're nauseous, you've got cravings, you're irritable and tired, unable to concentrate, your brain's going crazy. Oftentimes you're moody, hangry. We've heard that term before. You feel fatigued throughout the day. You need naps on a regular basis. You've got inflammation. Your joints hurt. This hurts, that hurts. And so that's a hypoglycemic response. Whereas a keto adapted response, your blood sugar could be the same. Like both a hypoglycemic individual as well as a keto adapted individual could have a blood sugar of about 60, or let's say 70. And the keto adapted person feels great, whereas the hypoglycemic person feels terrible. And the reason why is that the brain is able to use these ketones. The body is proficient at using an alternative fuel source, ketones, for fuel. And so you feel really great. Ketones are anti-inflammatory. They help to balance hormones, help improve your mental clarity, give you tons of energy. So they're fantastic. Like I'm doing this, this presentation here. I haven't eaten since I finished my last meal at 2 o'clock yesterday, and it's just about 10 o'clock Eastern time here. It's a 20-hour fast. I feel amazing. My brain feels great. I haven't eaten anything since then, but I'm keto adapted. If I tested my blood sugar, it would be probably around 70 or so. It's what it usually is this time of day. And but I feel fantastic because my ketones are elevated. So we definitely want to get in this state of keto adaptation. That's going to help us when we are fasting. The fast is going to be a lot easier and more comfortable when we're keto adapted. And so we can get keto adapted by eating a ketogenic diet for a few weeks before we start, an extended fast, or intermittent fasting itself will help stress our body to get keto adapted. But we can also use supplements that can really be beneficial for keto adaptation. One of those types of supplements is an adaptogen. So adaptogens are herbs that help balance our stress response. So when we look at how we respond to stress, we've got our fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system, and we've got our parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest, relax, heal. And so we want this to be a good balance. When we are exercising or doing something intense, we naturally should be in a sympathetic dominant state, like you're seeing there in Exhibit A. However, we shouldn't be like that all the time. For the most of the day, we should be parasympathetic dominant because we're trying to focus on rest and healing. And so adaptogens, if we are, in a sympathetic dominant state when we shouldn't be, okay, like when we're sitting in our car or, something like that, it's going to help balance us out. It's going to help bring us back to balance. And if we're in a parasympathetic state when we shouldn't be, like when we're exercising, we're feeling fatigued or something like that, it's going to help bring us back to balance, give us more energy, to be able to adapt and perform. A lot of people wake up in the morning and they're exhausted by, mid-morning, or they can't get out of bed in the morning. So adaptogens can really help with the energy there. And at the same time, help us from being anxious, overexcited, having issues like that, and help bring us back to balance. So adaptogens are great, really good for blood sugar stability as well. And exogenous ketones can be really, really helpful for somebody in the early stages when they're first trying to adapt into fasting to make it more comfortable. Why is that? Because by getting ketones, these things mimic the ketones our body naturally produces. By getting them into our bloodstream, the body recognizes that we've got this fuel source. And so it starts to upregulate certain enzymatic factors and certain intracellular structures that use ketones, that allow ketones to be used for fuel. And also these ketones naturally cross into the blood-brain barrier and will be used by the brain for energy. So when people take these, they may not be good at utilizing their own fat yet. They haven't adapted to burning their own fat for fuel and creating the ketones, but they get the benefits of as if they were in ketosis because they feel more relaxed, more calm. They have less of the hypoglycemic types of responses. The body doesn't go into panic, freak out mode. So I find that to be really, really helpful and can be really great as far as reducing cravings, helping with improving performance, and just making a fast a lot more comfortable. So huge fan of that. And that's why, I created this product KETOEDGE, which has the exogenous ketones. It's also got adaptogenic herbs, cordyceps, reishi, things like that. It's also got some branched chain amino acids, which can be helpful for preserving lean body tissue in different individuals. And so in the early stages of fasting, your body isn't great at burning fat for fuel for many individuals, and so they can start to lose some lean body tissue. This really helps preserve that. So it could be great as you first get going with fasting. Over time, my goal is that you can do a 5-day fast, 4 or 5-day fast or something like that, water fast with maybe just some salts and without the supplements. But in the early stages, I find that this can be really helpful to give that individual a more comfortable fasting experience. And for me, there's probably going to be people that are commenting on this and saying, oh, all this stuff breaks a fast. But, I don't subscribe to the, purist mentality. If we just want to stick with that, there's only going to be less than 1% of the population that's ever going to even try this. However, when we start to give some technological advancements, like using something like this is going to really open the door. A lot more people are going to feel like they can fast and have success with this and have a good experience with it, which will only further their enthusiasm for the fasting lifestyle. And that's really the goal, is that you're living a lifestyle built around fasting, intermittent fasting on a daily or weekly basis, along with occasional extended fasts. And so magnesium, I also find magnesium to be extremely helpful for fasting. Magnesium is crucial for over 300 functions in our body. When we're under stress or dealing with blood sugar stress, for example, hypoglycemia, we're going to drain up our magnesium. Magnesium is really, really key for helping us be calm, helping relax our muscles, just a lot of different functions. And so I find this to be very helpful for people when they are fasting, to give them a more comfortable experience using magnesium. Now, we talked a little bit about gut and gut-induced endotoxemia. And so we know that, good, healthy, balanced colonies are going to help regulate our immune system. But when we've got, imbalanced colonies in our gut and we start to release a lot of these endotoxins, they're going to trigger more inflammation in our body, autoimmunity. It's going to affect our brain. It's going to affect a lot of different functions in our system. And so it's why it's so critical that we're having healthy bowel movements. So many people are constipated out there. What is a healthy bowel movement? It should be a minimum of 1 time daily, really up to about 4 times a day. And ultimately, the goal is to move all the waste from previous meals within 24 hours. And if you can do it within 18, even better. But if food waste sits in your system, it's going to stagnate. It's going to be putrefied and cause a lot of endotoxemia. So early in the morning, between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., that's when your colon is most active. So that's really the best time to be having these sorts of regular poops, and moving your bowels, moving things through. And then also, if you don't get everything out early in the morning, shortly after meals, when you do eat, can be really helpful. But we've got to reduce that overall microbial load and reduce the amount of endotoxins. This makes a big difference in our inflammatory load, really helps calm and balance our immune system as well as our nervous system. So when we're fasting, oftentimes a lot of people will not be able to move their bowels. And especially the first 2 days, I think that's just so critical, because we're fasting. Naturally, when we eat, the act of chewing and taking in food stimulates the muscle contractions in our gut, in our intestines, this process called peristalsis. When we stop eating, we get less of that. So sometimes food will stagnate a little bit longer in our system. We may not get everything we ate, 2 days ago out, within the first 24 hours. So really, the first 2 days are so critical. They're going to set up everything for the rest of the fast. We've got to get rid of as much as possible. Magnesium, lots of hydration, electrolytes can all be really helpful for moving the bowels. There's other supplements too, like we've got one called OXY-POWDER, which I find to be really helpful during a fast. It's an oxygen-based colon cleanser to really move the bowels, move the stuff out so we don't get that gut-induced endotoxemia. This is it right here, OXY-POWDER. It's on our website. Really great product, doesn't break a fast, great way to just move things through the gut and reduce that gut-induced endotoxemia. Now, we also get the fat cell-induced endotoxemia. So we need a binder, so the OXY-POWDER is good for stimulating peristalsis in the gut. But what if toxins have already been released in the bloodstream, like from fats? Well, we need something that can get through the gut line and get into the circulation and bind the toxins. And that's why we have this biotoxin binder. It's a fulvic humic acid based supplement that is fantastic for getting pesticides, herbicides, all these different chemicals that may be stored in our fat cells, as well as mold, ammonia, aldehydes, all kinds of really toxic products, different things that the gut may have released, gut microbes may have released, but got into circulation. So I like to use this biotoxin binder to really support the removal of toxins in the body. And so here are some of the best supplements to support the body during a water fast. So if you're dealing with high blood sugar, low ketones, again, I like the KETOEDGE. So, and actually, you know what, that slide's wrong. It should be low blood sugar. You know, dealing with the low blood sugar and low ketone levels. So hypoglycemia. If you are dealing with stress and anxiety, we've got a product called cortisol defense. When you fast, your cortisol is going to go up, and cortisol defense has got ashwagandha, theanine. It's got you know, a number of different compounds in there, banana leaf, that are really good for helping balance and stabilize cortisol levels, which is really key. That's going to help you have more energy and feel better and less inflammation when you are fasting. Help you feel a lot better. If you're dealing with constipation, we've got two products, Bowel Mover and OXY-POWDER. With a fast, I usually recommend OXY-POWDER. It's non-herbal. The Bowel Mover is a number of different herbs, and a lot of times, you know, one of the benefits of fasting is more of a like food elimination or elimination diet. So I like to, you know, minimal ingredients can be beneficial here. So OXY-POWDER is great for the constipation during a fast. And then to improve detox, you could do things like our acetylated glutathione, which is great. Biotoxin binder to bind glutathione to upregulate intracellular glutathione to deal with oxidative stress. And we also have the Echo H2 hydrogen, molecular hydrogen drops. Molecular hydrogen is the smallest, antioxidant. It slips right into the cells. So right through the cell membrane into the cells, really great way to quench intracellular free radical damage. And that's key, especially if you are dealing with viral issues. That can be really, really powerful, the hydrogen ions. And so over 700 studies, this is a powerful, powerful supplement. So basically, just put a couple of these drops in water with a little bit of salt, and it will have a very powerful effect at quenching free radical stress in the body. So why supplements can be helpful when fasting? Again, you know, to summarize, makes the fasting experience more comfortable. And I find that to be very, very valuable for individuals, especially as they first get going with fasting. If you are a fasting veteran, if you're well experienced in fasting, you don't need supplements. Your body is adapted to this. It's something you've been doing for a long time. Fantastic. And ultimately, I'd love to get everybody to that point. But what I found is that many people have very unpleasant experience and they're not willing to do it again. So these supplements can help them have a much more comfortable experience. And by them having a comfortable experience over time, you know, they'll be enthusiastic. They'll be fasting enthusiasts. And when you're a fasting enthusiast, over time, you want to experiment, and you want to try it without the supplements. And as your body gets more fat adapted, as you get rid of a lot of these bad defective cells that can't use fat for fuel, it becomes easier and easier to do it without the need for these supplements. So that's really the goal there. But a lot of people are toxic. We got to help removal of the toxic debris. A lot of people are under tremendous oxidative stress within their cell. We've got to remove that. So supplements can be really helpful. And so to help everybody out, because people have been asking me to make support packs based around all these issues. So that's what I did. And we've got our fasting stress support pack. Obviously, you can purchase all these products individually, but we put this into a support pack and we are offering it, I believe, at like 25% discount from the regular pricing. So fantastic deal, 20 to 25%, something like that. But the cortisol defense, the magnesium and the KETOEDGE to really help with hypoglycemia, with stress, anxiety, sleep issues, right? This will really help with helping you sleep more effectively when you're fasting. So you can check that one out. And then we also have the fasting detox support pack. So this has got the OXY-POWDER to give you that oxygen-based intestinal cleanser. We've got the biotoxin binder to grab toxins within the cell or within the bloodstream. And then we have got the Echo H2 drops to put in your water, which is really good for basically helping with that intracellular detoxification. So, this is a great pack right here. It's a great program to follow. So you can check that out. I've got links below and on our store page. So hopefully you guys really benefited from this. Would love to hear your feedback. And guys, I will talk to you soon. Be blessed. Bye-bye.